Hello, good evening, Johnson students. Boxing, the sweet science. It has been described as equal parts poetry and brutality, and I couldn't agree more. Boxing has a long, long history. In fact, we have recorded evidence of boxing taking place as early as 3000 BC. It also has a long history in my life. You see, boxing was one of the things that attracted me to the church when I had a youth pastor who was a unsuccessful professional boxer, but he's a great youth pastor who took us into his gym. He had built a gym in his garage and had taken us into his gym and had invested into our lives spiritually through the boxing as medium. Boxing also has a long history of colorful characters. And along with these colorful characters are some colorful quotes that I have. Some of these, I love this one. I actually put on my computer as a screensaver. It says this: everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. That was Mike Tyson, who would know something about that. George Foreman is, for many of you who know him from his George Foreman Girls, he actually was a great heavyweight champion on more than one occasion. He says this: sure, the fight was fixed. I fixed it with my right hand. Most of us, even those who are not boxing fans, know who Muhammad Ali is. He's the great Muhammad Ali. There's never been any like him. He said, if you even dream of beating me, you better wake up and apologize. Even though boxing doesn't seem to have the popularity in America that it used to, it still is a very popular and a major sport worldwide. It could be argued it's the biggest sport in the world. Every country, every continent has boxing. But just for example, here in America, the recent Floyd Mayweather-Manny Pacquiao fight that hit headlines, most of us heard it even if we don't watch boxing. That fight alone, one single fight this year, earned over $500 million in revenue. For point of reference, the Super Bowl generated $480 million in revenue. So one single fight between two men earned more money than the Super Bowl. The purse for the fight was $300 million split between two fighters. Floyd Mayweather walked away with more money from one fight than the entire Yankee baseball team earns all year. So yes, boxing still is a major sport in America. It remains exceedingly popular and exceedingly rich. The limelight and the glory are still there for the very best boxers to enjoy. But there is a secret side, sort of a dark side to the great wealth that boxing has. You see, many thousands of fighters, of retired boxers, suffer from traumatic brain injury. This traumatic brain injury is compounded by extreme poverty. And you ask, how is this possible with such a rich sport as boxing? You see, here's the problem. The average boxer, one that fights several fights a year and may even fight a major promotion, show up on ESPN once or twice here and there, might earn an income of, say, $60,000 a year. But after he has paid his management and his training team, and after he has paid his own expenses, he has left out of that $60,000 between $16,000 and $20,000 a year. The average fighter, after his expenses, lives below the poverty line. If this boxer happens to suffer from a traumatic brain injury of having fought for many years, as the result is that he doesn't carry forward into his retirement any wealth, and he carries with him this injury which prevents him oftentimes from being able to work and earn a living for himself or his family. And he may even need long-term care, for which no one is there to provide. Oftentimes the burden for long-term care falls on the family of that boxer or on the government, the state, to take care of him. According to healthresearchfunding.org, 90% of boxers experience head trauma. Now, fortunately, most of these boxers, their head trauma heals and they have no long-term effects. But I want you to get this in perspective here. 2% of Americans suffer from chronic acute traumatic brain injury. By comparison, 40% of retired boxers suffer from traumatic acute brain injury. You see, we as a consumer demand to be entertained. And the boxers know the risk. They know that going in the ring every time, they're taking a risk. They could die in that ring. But they go there for our amusement. And they do it willingly. But there's one thing, there's one problem. We ask ourselves, why would a man put himself in that position? Why would someone step into the ring willingly, risking his life for our entertainment? Well, for the same reason that a man would get into a race car, or for the same reason that anyone would put on a football helmet and get on the football field. But there's one difference. The football field, they have a union. Baseball players, they have a union. Basketball players, they have a union. They have an organization and a single entity that overarches and oversees the entire thing and allows for the well-being and the health care of that individual well into their retirement. Boxing does not have a single organizing entity. Boxing is broke up into many divisions in many places. It's regional sometimes, it's state sometimes. We have athletic commissions, and they'll look over the health of the boxer at that moment. But 10 years after that fight, the health commission has nothing to do with that person. Football has the NFLPA, which the word just escaped me, which contends for contracts. There's a word that I was looking for, it just flew away. Contends for contracts for the players. Boxing has nothing. What can we do to change this? We need to support a union for boxers. We need to support a single organizing entity for boxing. By doing this, the retired boxer would be assured of a minimum level of well-being and a minimum level of a quality of life. The burden for his long-term care would not fall on the shoulders of his elderly parents or perhaps his wife or his children, but would fall to an organization that had been equipped and prepared to deal with such a situation. But there is some good news. Even though there are promoters and even though there are boxing divisions that would be opposed to a single entity, we have on the horizon signs of hope. You see, there's one promotion out there called Golden Boy Promotions, and this promotion is owned by Oscar De La Hoya himself, a former championship boxer. One of his partners, Bernard Hopkins, the ageless champion boxer. These two men have taken it upon themselves to start this process of ensuring for the long-term well-being of their boxers. Now, it doesn't cover boxers that box outside of their promotion, but those that box within their promotion. They're beginning to put the pieces into play where these guys have some long-term care, some long-term financial stability. Well, we need to support legislation that comes from Congress to create a single unifying organization and a union that would protect our fighters. You see, there is a saying that we have in boxing. We say, leave it all in the ring. I don't think a healthy financial and stable future is what is meant when we say that. But that is exactly what is left in the ring every time a fighter lays his life on the line for our amusement.